Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we kind of jumped ahead in the timeline accidentally. That was not the plan, but we did in fact get the Gemini 9A flight completed, technically. Now, we need to do Gemini 8, which still consists of putting in an additional Agena target vehicle, which we're going to do at a somewhat higher orbit, I think, here. So we're going to load this one on up, and let's launch that. We need a second Agena target vehicle up anyway for Gemini 10. So that'll be absolutely fine, because we need to dock with one target vehicle and rendezvous with another. So I want to put this one in a somewhat different orbit. Maybe we'll target about 250 kilometers. That should be reasonably fine. So let's throttle up, SAS on, and off we go. So yeah, we'll target about 250 kilometers for this one. That'll be fine. The current one is in a 100 kilometer orbit. Yeah, I like it. So that's fine. That'll actually make for a pretty simple rendezvous after we've docked up with this. To be clear, I'm pretty sure they undocked and then rendezvoused, because yeah, the first firing of the Agena target vehicle engine was in Gemini 11. So that's okay. We do, of course, need to get ourselves a bit of a gravity turn going on here. We've definitely missed the boat on that one a little bit. Our apoapsis height is up there, and this thing does have a bit of a rolling problem. There's no doubt about that, but it is a manageable one. But it does mean that these gravity turns aren't as good as I'd like them to be. No doubt about that. Apoapsis height of about 20 kilometers. Okay. Let's just hop over to prograde for right now. And we're going to chill here in the prograde circle for a bit. Ooh. Definitely still have that rolling issue going on here. Okay. So we're just hanging out here in the prograde circle until we get to an apoapsis of, let's say, somewhere around, I think 70 kilometers will be fine. I want to punch up through this atmosphere. I'm a little bit concerned about our current speed and altitude. Okay, it's currently at 100 kilometers. That's fine. Let's hop on over to here. I remember we did have a bit of an issue with this overpoweredness of this first stage in the previous flight as well. Okay, this is 270. That's good enough. I did not note that we were passing 250, but I'm not shocked about that. So that is okay. Once we reach 270, we'll circularize here. This is close enough. We don't need to reach any particular orbit. I just want it to be sufficiently different from the other Agena target vehicle. So that'll be absolutely fine. This burn isn't going to be for about another 8 minutes. Cool. And this is going to be about 400 meters per second. That's fine. We should probably extend our antenna. If I can grab it here. There we go. We'll extend our antenna. And I'm assuming we're fine on electric charge. Fine-ish, actually. The other Agena target vehicle might not be, but that's okay. So we're going to bring this on over. And we'll position right on that marker. Okay, that's slightly over the marker, but that's fine. And we're going to warp on forward in preparation for this burn. Beautiful. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and we've got ourselves about 20 seconds, 10 seconds, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay. There we go. We'll get ourselves into orbit and into a roughly circular orbit. This is probably close enough. This is definitely close enough. So we'll call that good. We do not need to retain this fuel, so that could be detract. For now, I'm not going to worry about that, but we are going to separate this, and we're not going to fire this engine just yet, actually. So we're going to do something like that. There we go. And there's our docking vehicle, ready to go. Cool. So let's hop on back to the Space Center. And we'll just let those drift on apart, because now we need to launch Gemini 8. And that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that this is the version that has a docking adapter this time. That would be nice. And what are we going to have for funds here? 725? Not bad. Cool. So this is all looking absolutely fine for the moment, of course. We do need to grab Gemini 8. This has the docking adapter. Wonderful. And we know that this is a little bit anemic of a first stage, mostly due to lack of fuel more than anything, but that's okay. We're going to save and launch this. Who are we going to be bringing? I don't really care who we bring, to be honest. Nobody's going to get any XP. Nobody's going to get any science either, really. We'll bring Bob just in case we have resets, like on our splashdown or whatever, but I'm kind of doubting that we'll have any of those available. We're mostly maxed out on what we can get for science right now, which is definitely sad. Definitely sad. You know, in retrospect, as I'm thinking back on this, we should have gotten a small science stipend, like, I don't know, 10 science per step, maybe? We could still do that, but that would be a changing of the rules. Speaking of changing of the rules, this staging. Okay, we definitely don't want to fire these radial mount drogue chutes right here. That would be very, very strange. So we're not going to do that. We are just going to make sure that the rest of this is all reasonably fine. I do want to have this detachment happening here. Okay, so that was mildly broken, but that is all fixed, and off we go. Phenomenal. So we just don't quite have enough burn time in these stages as it is. We could definitely move some fuel, like from this stage into this stage, and that might be okay. But I think this is perfectly fine. I'm not too concerned about it, all things considered. So I want to get a little bit more altitude this time than we have on our previous couple of launches, because we know that this is an underpowered first stage. So I'm going to go straight up until our apoapsis height is about 20 kilometers. I just want more vertical speed here. That's the adaptation that we're making here. So that's 20 kilometer apoapsis height. And we are at 15 kilometers apoapsis. There's 20. So now we're going to start heading on over and pulling our prograde over towards the horizon. Ooh, we are drifting pretty far southward there. I was not expecting to be drifting southward, but okay. At this point, we're mostly just trying to make our way over to the horizon. Although I'm not trying to be too aggressive about it. Keeping an eye on our apoapsis at the same time, we want to target probably somewhere around 150 would be good here. So here we are at the horizon. I'm attempting to hold attitude here. It's going mediocrely. Cool. Now we should be able to hold attitude much more easily, in theory. And we're just going to continue to slowly burn here. Cool. We're definitely doing better on our apoapsis height. That's a good sign. So we're just going to continue to burn with this kind of inefficient engine for this altitude. I would like to have like another 30-ish seconds of burn in that tank. That would be very, very good. We could probably consider adding it, but for the time being, it'll have to do. So we're going to push our apoapsis height up to, I think, 150 will be absolutely fine. All we need to do here is dock with the crewed vehicle that uncrewed vehicle that we just put in orbit, and we head home. That's all we got to do. So that'll be fine, and then Gemini 10 is going to be the slightly more complicated one. Gemini 11, and then Gemini 12 is kind of more of the same. Kind of. We might combine together, like, 11 and 12 into one episode. I'm not sure. We'll see. So we're pushing up that apoapsis height. Again, we're targeting about 150, so we're about halfway there right now. I do think that was a better ascent trajectory, given our underpowered first stage, than our previous one. So that's great. I'm just double checking that we've got a Clampatron docking port junior here, and indeed we do. We can extend our high gain antenna, not like there's, you know, really a reason to, but there's no reason not to either. We're now officially in space, so we are at full efficiency on our Poodle now, which is absolutely great. This is vacuum optimized after all. And let's bring this on up. We could, if we wanted to, physics warp this burn. We're at 80 kilometers right now. Honestly, we're going to be there pretty soon. We do need to push up over orbital velocity, I think, in order to get to 150. Which naturally means that we're not going to have much problem whatsoever with circularization. That's going to be very, very little delta V. Not that we are concerned about delta V at all here. This thing is, once we get this into space, it's a crazy amount of delta V. No doubt about that one. So there we go, going into orbital mode. And a little further. 148, 149, and 150. Beautiful. So now we're going to target this apoapsis here and push ourselves up into a circular orbit. That's not going to take much delta V at all. Beautiful. So that's going to be 75.3 meters per second. Yeah, that's completely fine. This debris is, of course, going to be impacting the ground again. No shockers there. And we're going to have about 10 minutes until this maneuver. Cool. So position here and warp on forward. 7 minutes to go. 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's continue to warp a little bit here, although we're going to be going over towards prograde. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, that should be good enough. So, no problems whatsoever there. Let's grab our, not debris. I want to grab the Agena target vehicle here. So we'll set that as our target, not the debris, and we're going to look for an encounter. So we'll just push on out. That's actually not too far apart. If we give it an orbit, that's a pretty big differentiation with giving it an orbit. So it's going to end up being somewhere around here. That's not bad. 8.1 kilometers is close enough to work with. Relative speed of 65.9 meters per second. I like it. Let's rotate on over here. Oh, it's trying to take us over to prograde. Yeah, no wonder. Okay, stop that rotation. Back over we go. Okay, so now we're going to warp forward until this maneuver point in about 17 minutes. Cool. So we'll get our rendezvous here. We'll, of course, correct down that 8.1 kilometers there. That'll be fine. And this will be in about 1 minute here. We're definitely going to want to be locked to prograde for this. This is a pure prograde burn. 2, 1, 0, mark. So we're just going to push this on out. That's probably good enough. 9.5 kilometers? Yes, indeed. We're now going to warp to about here. We can see this is towards the target. And we should be relatively close to the target already. Relatively. It should actually be out from us here. Interesting. In-space high material study. We'll grab that. I didn't expect to have an in-space high material study here, but we can certainly do that. And I want to be on target mode here. 63.8, huh? Okay, I actually think that we want to switch around over here and be pulling the towards target. I think we're far enough away and moving slow enough that we want to be out over this direction. So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to pull out over this way-ish. Don't head towards retrograde, please. Just pull out over here. There we go. Now we'll head over to retrograde. Because, of course, we're going to have to brake. Okay, so now we can do our corrective burns from this side and be slowing down and correcting our trajectory simultaneously. So that sounds great. I'm going to go on to stability assist here, and we're just correcting this ever so slightly. Okay, I want to be out over here. Doing a very minor correction there. Then that looks good for the moment. What are we at? 0.0 kilometers. So that's pretty good indeed. We're going to head on in here. We're going to have to start braking pretty soon, but let's let this load on in here in a moment. So we're 2 kilometers out right now, moving at 100 meters per second. So we're definitely going to need to slow this on down. I'm going to commence a burn once we're 1 kilometer away. There we go. Bringing us down to about 10 meters per second for the moment. Actually, I'm going to go 15, because we might need a correction here. Actually, I think this is fine. Let's just continue to bring this out over here. We'll do a small correction. Okay, we're moving at about 7.9 meters per second. Another small corrective burn there. Okay, 7.2 meters per second is our relative speed now. I'm comfortable with this for the moment. We'll brake again once we are below 100 meters to target. 170. 150. Actually, it's 130 at this point. 120. 100. Okay, I'm gently bringing us down. I'm also looking... Okay, looking to do a little bit of correction here, but it's really not going to be ideal at these speeds. So we're just going to bring this right on down to 0. Actually... Yeah, we're going to impact here. We're on an impact trajectory, so we're going to bring that all the way down to 0. We're actually going the opposite direction right now. I'm going to turn RCS on and do a small braking burn here. There we go. RCS back off, and we're going to turn around here. We don't have any ability to lock to the towards target, which is a little sad, but we can set this as our target. And just turn on over here and manually align, which will be absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll park about here for now. We're going to have to realign this once we get the Agena target vehicle turned. So we'll set you as our target, 3 meters away. That's really not bad. This is the wrong direction. Let's flip that guy all the way around here. We need to go up over here. Okay. As expected, we're going to have to realign a bit. Oh, hello, docking forces right there. Okay, so I guess we're going to get docking forces, and there we go. We have docked. Phenomenal. I didn't expect docking forces to just yoink right there, but sure, that does make sense. So we got 3 science around that anyway. So at this point, all we need to do, we leave this in orbit, and we undock and head home. We have successfully docked for the first time. Phenomenal. So we are going to undock, and it's time to head home. I think they, in reality... Okay, I just didn't want to actually press that undock there. I think in reality, they actually orbited while docked for some time. I'm double-checking that. So let's see here. Gemini 8... While docked, a Gemini spacecraft thruster malfunctioned, causing a near-fatal tumbling of the craft, which after undocking, Armstrong, referring to Neil Armstrong here, was able to overcome. The crew effected the first emergency landing of a crewed U.S. space mission. Okay, so did they actually manage to undock? It conducted the first docking of 2 spacecraft in orbit, but also suffered the first critical in-space system failure of a U.S. spacecraft, which threatened the lives of the astronauts and required an immediate abort of the mission. Okay. Let me just look through here real quick. They did successfully dock, and then there was an emergency. Yes. Gemini started rotating more rapidly. The problem was on Gemini, not Agena, but without the added mass of the Agena. Okay, they did undock. Good to know. So they undocked without the added mass. They were tumbling uncontrollably. They did get it under control. So I guess we'll undock here. A tumble had broken out by this point, and they, like, kind of flung the Agena target vehicle off. But we can turn SAS off, and we can get ourselves a bit of a tumble going here. There we go. So we've got ourselves a tumble going on. So we have a minor emergency here. No doubt about that. I don't know how much faster we can get this thing spinning, really. I mean, it is getting faster and faster and faster, this is actually the kind of feedback loop that they had. They had a malfunctioning thruster that was causing this sort of thing, right? And then in order to fix it, let's just get this ramped up a tiny bit more. And then we'll turn the RCS off, and we'll let that tumble for a bit. In order to fix that, we're going to see right here, what did they do? They realized the problem was on Gemini. The tumble rate had reached 296 degrees per second. So that's actually pretty comparable to what we have here. A little bit under 1 second per revolution. That's pretty comparable. They decided to shut down the OAMS and use the re-entry control thrusters to stop the tumble. Okay, so all they did was they turned off the thruster that was causing the issue, which you could argue we did by turning off our RCS. Beautiful. So now, of course, we can get it under control by using the reaction wheel, which they did not have. But we can get it under control using our reaction wheel and just not use our RCS thrusters from here on out, because those have been turned off. So that sounds absolutely fine. We can kind of emulate it that way. So it's definitely going to take a bit to get this tumble under control using the reaction wheel, but we can definitely see that it's slowing down. I'm going to go into physics warp here, so that our reaction wheel has a little bit easier of a time slowing this down, but like I said, it's going to take some time. It's definitely slowing it down, though. So we've got this under control, or nearly under control. There we go. Now the craft is solidly under control, and now, of course, we have to effect an emergency landing. So we're just going to bring this down, and we're not going to care about where it comes in. Not that we've really cared all that much in the past, but we're going to bring this on down to a periapsis of somewhere around 10 kilometers. That'll be absolutely fine. 30, 20, and we'll go a little further here. 10 kilometers. There we go. Now we'll jettison these components here. We should probably stow our antenna if we want to recover that. And downward we go. So we'll warp on down to the atmosphere here, and then we'll immediately hop over to retrograde. And let's get this emergency landing underway. Cool. So downward we come. They were able to land, of course, and return safely. It would be mildly problematic to history if Neil Armstrong died here. That would cause some changes. No doubt about that. But let's bring this on down. We're definitely drifting off of the retrograde marker. We're not shocked about that, given what we know about the aerodynamic characteristics of this capsule. For the moment, it's okay. I'm not too concerned about it. We're slowing down actually really nicely. I don't see any heat gauges, so we're just going to bring this down. Looks like we're going to be landing in these mountains, which is, mildly awkward. Let's get our drogues out. SAS can now be off. And main will be going out as soon as we've slowed down enough, which will be now. Phenomenal. And down we go. So we're going to land in these mountains. Mildly awkward for sure. We can actually grab a crew report and... Okay, we are now over highlands. We're only flying low over the mountains very briefly. That's sad that we're right on that borderline. I was hoping to grab some additional data there. I don't think we've landed in mountains before. We could try to steer our way over here, but I really don't think we can do that. This thing is not meant to steer. Yeah, we can't really do it. We're just picking up a spin. So we'll kill our spin there. And we're going to be coming down on this slope, which could be mildly interesting. We're probably going to lose our heat shield on impact, as usual. And actually, we lost our bay as well. Fascinating. We're going to roll downhill a bit. We can grab a mystery goo observation. We lost our science junior, actually. We can grab our mystery goo observation, which is something. Let's open our service bay to give ourselves some AirSats landing legs. And we can also have Bob EVA. All hatches are obstructed. Right. You know what? It's not actually worth all that much. We'll call that our emergency landing. It was definitely a spicy one. We're going to recover our vessel there, and that is, of course, Gemini 8 in the bag. So let me mark that off on the list. And next up will be Gemini 10, which is going to actually end up docking with both target vehicles, or actually docking with one target vehicle and rendezvousing with the other. So we haven't technically managed to dock with the lower one. We'll probably dock with that, and then we'll rendezvous with the other, and we don't dock to that, and then we come home, would be the idea for Gemini 10. So that'll be absolutely fine. We got 6.5 science out of that, which is something anyway. We do need to get our payment, and so we shall. There we go. That'll be fine. And beyond that, it's time to put a cut in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, Gemini 10. We're going to have a dock and a rendezvous in the same mission. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.